Hello, and this is QTV News. I am Umudu Kajaga. We're coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue. Thank you for joining us. And now we look at the main news headlines. In a continuation of official accreditation ceremonies at the State House in Banjul, President Adama Barrow has received 2 more ambassadors designate who presented their letters of credence. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, and on Tuesday launched the April 2022 in-country regional economic outlook for sub-Saharan Africa. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Agriculture and Employers Association, commonly referred to as GCCI, on Tuesday held a consultative forum with the Gambia Markets Union and committees. The UN and the Gambia government on Tuesday launched the UN Migration Project to address migration-related vulnerabilities among borders communities along the Trans-Gambia Transport Corridor. In international news, members of the ECOWAS Parliament Joint Committee on Peace and Security have called for quick intervention to avert further escalation of the ongoing pre-parliamentary election tensions in Senegal. Those were the main news headlines, and now the news in detail. Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is QTV News. In a continuation of official accreditation ceremonies at the State House in Banjul, President Adama Barrow has received 2 more ambassadors designate from the Federal Republic of Somalia and the People's Republic of Japan, who presented their letters of credence. Umar Lamin Choi has the details.
Somalia and Japan have sent ambassadors designate to the Gambia to keep intact their bilateral relations and cooperation with the Gambia. The ambassadors designate arrive at the State House and are greeted with a guard of honor as part of the official ceremony for their accreditation to the Gambia. Both present letters of credence to the head of state, President Adama Barrow, who formally grants diplomatic accreditation to the diplomats, marking the beginning of their ambassadorship in the Gambia. The Federal Republic of Somalia is the latest African country that has for the first time sent an ambassador to the Gambia for accreditation. And the East African country's new ambassador, Mohamed Hussein Abubakar, who is based in Dakar, is placed to represent his country in the Gambia. Comments on the similarities Somalia and Gambia share and expresses commitment to further deepen relations and cooperation with the country.
With the corner of the East Africa and you the corner of West Africa, we share the culture, religion, and everything. I think the Gambian and the Somalis, they share a lot of things. And even though we are East Africa and you are West Africa, our heart is one and connected. And I am going to be the bridge between my 2 nations, my 2 countries, and I'm very happy, and I'm sure I can do a lot of things to make one country, to Gambia and Somalia.
President Adama Barrow has also accepted the letter of credence from an ambassador designate from the People's Republic of Japan, who is also based in Dakar. Japan was among the first batch of countries to immediately recognize Gambia's independence on 18 February 1965 and established relations with the Gambia the following year. Japan's cooperation with the Gambia focuses on sectors such as food assistance, water supply, especially in rural areas, agriculture, health, fisheries, and human resources capacity building. The Japanese ambassador, Izawa Usama, stresses that there is no change of policy in Japan-Gambia cooperation.
I'd like to stress there is no change in the course. So Japan is going together with Gambia, and Japan is committed to support the Gambians' development, economic development, and peace and stability. So this is our policy, and there is no change. I explain this position to your president.
As the Gambia keeps on maintaining and establishing diplomatic relations with a host of countries around the world, Gambians look forward to diplomatic cooperation that will deliver the goods on development in our national interest. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
The International Monetary Fund (IMF), in collaboration with the Gambia's Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs on Tuesday, launched the April 2022 in-country regional economic outlook for sub-Saharan Africa under the theme "A New Suck and Little Room to Maneuver." Omar P. Jallo attended the launch, and this is his report.
The International Monetary Fund reports a challenging economic outlook for sub-Saharan Africa due to the war in Ukraine and the lingering impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, but believe there are reasons to be optimistic for recovery as well. The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Abdullah Jallo, said the content of the report from this regional economic outlook will serve as a guide for policy directives. PS Jallo added that the Ukraine war has caused a major setback to the global food chain, as both Ukraine and Russia are major suppliers.
After being severely hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Gambian economy appeared to be emerging from the collapse triggered by the pandemic and was beginning a subdued recovery with signs of improvements, especially in the services and industry sectors.
The IMF resident representative in the Gambia, Mamadou Juldebari, reveals that many countries in Africa borrowed heavily to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, with looming interest rate hiked by the U.S. Federal Reserve on the horizon, adding that the IMF is urging consensual financing and grants be offered to reduce the debt load. The IMF chief in the Gambia is urging policymakers to be quick and flexible to put their finances on a firm footing to handle debt while ensuring adequate social spending and safety nets.
Africa has the fastest growing population around the world. So to meet the growing demand for jobs and reap the demographic dividend, the government cannot do it all, so we need the private sector to step in. But to do that, we need to create conditions for private sector development, so create an environment where business can prosper.
Sidi Keita, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, said at the start of 2022, it looked as if sub-Saharan African countries were beginning to recover from the very difficult economic conditions they encountered in 2020 and 2021. Unfortunately, most countries in the region are now facing a major setback, citing higher fuel and food prices, and says he believes the war in Ukraine is a key driver of inflation.
We have very important pressing development challenges to which we should direct the revenues of the state. But given the economic situation, government was obliged to subsidize fuel. But these are shock absorbers that you must do as a government in order to shield the population from the adverse economic shocks.
Dr. Paul Yemendi, representing the governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, has this to say.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of the Gambia had adopted an expansionary monetary policy stance since the start of the pandemic in 2020, with the intent of avoiding an economic recession in 2020 and to kickstart the recovery process in 2021.
According to officials, inflation is reaching record levels around the world. Therefore, central banks need to be prepared to increase interest rates if inflationary pressures remain high, even as growth momentum softens. Sub-Saharan Africa countries now have a challenge of balancing inflation and growth due to difficult trade-off between containing inflation without undermining economic recovery. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Agriculture and Employers Association, commonly referred to as GCCI, on Tuesday held a consultative forum with the Gambia Markets Union and committees to know their challenges and find ways to address them. Loli M. Camara reports.
Members of the Markets Union comprise the President, Vice President, Chairpersons, Treasurers, and other members representing markets across the country. Members of the Markets Union highlighted their problems and made suggestions to strengthen their businesses. Ma Landing B. Jabang, the Secretary General of the Gambia Markets Union, stated that his union was formed in 2020 when the country was hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic.
Now we find it necessary that the Gambia Business Committee need to have a union, and then we went forward to create that union, and that's how it come into being. But then Gambia Market Union is basically there to stand and fight for the right of the business entrepreneur, both business and handicrafts in and within the markets.
Teresa S. Jara, the manager, corporate services at GCCI, explains the reasons for having such an important forum.
It's a consultative meeting. We just want to know what their needs are, so that we can tailor our products and our services to them. As you all know, GCCI is a national chamber, and we have to ensure that there's inclusivity. We have different sectors, but then our categories of membership includes what we call the Japalajula. Japalajula means to help the small businesses, and they are small businesses. So this is our way of including them into our membership, and hopefully through this consultative meeting we will be able to bring them on board.
Union members call on the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as the body responsible for all businesses in the country, to support the markets unions, especially during sales periods of Korite and Tobaski, called Wanter.
Mimmo bela problema do wala nyimantero adu mbanda solo fila sitana adu malla fi mbanda solo wantero fa so dulado Gambia kabin ko na vakato malla fa so dulado wala mbobe nati
fukki weer ak ñaar do ci bonofi dara lu ñaari weer ci bi ñaari weer yoyu nonu nit ñi ñew ñu block ñu te ñu ngay fay sun rent ñu ngay fay sun tax di fay sun juice everything.
Responding to issues raised by members, Sarata Konate, the Chief Executive Officer of the GCCI, thanked the Gambia Markets Union for honoring their invitation while assuring them of GCCI's support.
Now that we have listened and heard and noted it down, more importantly, we will come back. You know, when we talk about engagements, it's a process. It starts somewhere and then it's a continuation. But we are very pleased to assure you of one pivotal and very crucial important thing, which is partnership. Accompanying you in this very important journey, accompanying you to look for solutions, accompanying you to look for benefits that will help your businesses grow.
The Markets Union also called on GCCI to decentralize the annual trade fair for the benefit of business communities in all regions of the Gambia. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we still have some more news stories for you. Do stay tuned.
For his kitchen, Prosper was thinking big. He therefore chose big new tiles. He then thought he'd also love a new stainless steel sink and a new mixer app. And now that we're changing the sink, we might as well buy a new kitchen counter, right?
Oh yeah, I couldn't resist.
Good old Prosper.
And yes, that's Batimat's Bati Days. Take advantage of exceptional discounts up to 70% on several products families. From June 11th to 25th, you will be splurging. Batimat, everything for construction, from foundation to finishing.
Welcome back, and thank you very much if you're just joining us. This is QTV News. The United Nations agencies and the Gambia government on Tuesday launched the UN Migration Multi-Partner Trust Fund project to address migration-related vulnerabilities among border communities along the Trans-Gambia Transport Corridor. Ajibintu Drame reports.
This joint program, funded by the Migration Multi-Partner Fund, will be implemented by the government, International Trade Center, and IOM, UNDP, and UNICEF. It also seeks to address challenges of security, safety, and prosperity through interlinked interventions. The inauguration of the Senegambia Bridge in 2019 has contributed significantly to the ease of mobility, economic opportunities, and migration. On the other hand, it has similarly impacted the lives of vulnerable women and youth in the border communities along the route. Yasin Gai, the International Trade Center representative, explains.
But despite this positive outlook, the bridge has contributed to amplifying vulnerabilities, especially for women, youth, and children in the border communities along the route. Given the country's vast, porous, and sparsely monitored borders, the border communities in Jara West in the Lower River region and Upper Badibu in the North Bank region are particularly affected.
The 3-year project will focus on enhancing border posts to prevent situations of vulnerability, strengthen the capacity of border authorities, increase awareness among women and youth of their rights, and strengthen skills and livelihood opportunities for them. Fantafal, a cross-border trader, explains how the Senegambia Bridge has affected their lives and livelihood.
The Senegambia Bridge virtually took us out of work and changed our social status from breadwinners to dependents. On behalf of all the vendors that are affected, I would like to respectfully draw the attention of the local and central government authorities to our plea, and we ask them to come to our aid by taking the necessary steps to help restore our financial status, so that we can become financially useful to ourselves once again.
Siaka Sonko, the Minister of Interior, had this to say.
Reducing trade-related costs, enhancing trade opportunities, and improving accessibility. It is a known fact that it is a market, larger markets that enable economies to grow.
Seraphine Wakana, the UN resident coordinator, says it is important that the joint program was designed from a human rights perspective to ensure respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights to all migrants.
Not only bringing vulnerabilities, it also brings a lot of benefits to the country. But any initiative will have positive and negative effects. And it's good for us supporting the government to also focus and support the government to address those issues.
Asan Gay, the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade, commends partners for their recognition of the creative destruction that comes with infrastructural development and seeking for solutions for the affected communities.
This project aims at ensuring that border authorities at key border posts of the Trans-Gambia Transport Corridor effectively facilitate safe and orderly migration for youth and women. This will be done through providing better equipment for border posts, improved knowledge and capacity of border authorities, and strengthening protection and reporting mechanisms.
The Migration Multi-Partner Trust Fund is the UN financing mechanism fully dedicated to supporting the joint initiatives of member states, the UN system, and other stakeholders in the national implementation of the Global Compact of Migration. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
The end of that report takes us to international news. Members of the ECOWAS Parliament Joint Committee on Peace and Security have expressed concern at the ongoing pre-parliamentary election tensions in Senegal, calling for quick intervention to avert further escalation. Our reporter in Abuja, Aliou Cissé, has more.
Senegalese will vote in a parliamentary election on 31st July, but the build-up to the exercise is being marked by political tensions, resulting in protest by the opposition coalition movement dubbed Yewwi Askan Wi, meaning Free Our People, supporting Ousmane Sonko, the main challenger to incumbent President Macky Sall. The opposition coalition is protesting the invalidation on technical grounds of its national list of proposed candidates for the National Assembly election in the West African nation. One of the names on the list had been accidentally put down both as a first-choice candidate and an alternate candidate. The security services are accused of firing tear gas and live rounds on protesters, which left 3 people dead, 1 in Dakar and 2 in Casamance, according to local media reports. Senegal is one of the beacons of democracy and has had some electoral laws which have put them ahead of many countries, such as the law on gender parity in parliament. However, this law is found to be either deliberately or otherwise violated by both the opposition coalition and the ruling coalition, resulting in the invalidation of the opposition list of candidates, while the ruling party was allowed despite allegedly some similar lapses. The outcome of the last local government elections saw the ruling coalition government of President Macky Sall lost in major cities including Dakar and Ziguinchor to the opposition coalition led by Ousmane Sonko. At its meeting of the Joint Committee on Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, Social Affairs, Gender and Women Empowerment at the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja, Nigeria, Honorables Edwin Melvin Snow Jr. and Mahama Ayariga, Chair and Vice Chair of the committee, and Fatma Njai, a member, called for an immediate intervention to bring about peace to avoid the tension from further escalating, as neither the opposition nor the ruling party has shown a willingness to compromise.
So we honestly need to look at the root cause and see how best we can address the situation, how best we can arrest it. And I think this committee sitting is doing a lot of justice to the concern.
The quality of governance doesn't seem to be the concern of ECOWAS. The person is sitting there and abusing his people is not your concern. They talk to each other as brothers, brother talking to my brothers, and they are mismanaging their various countries and nobody is saying anything.
We all assumed that they would understand since they came up with the parity laws. So I wouldn't expect a mistake in that.
On Monday, Sonko called for another massive nationwide demonstration on 29 June and demanded the immediate release of his arrested supporters.
Why le 29 na pare ni dinañu japp wala mu faagagal bu japp ni mom rew nax na bopam. Appearing
before the committee together with other staff of the ECOWAS Commission on Peace and Security, Sering Mamadou Ka, Program Officer, Democracy and Good Governance with the Directorate of Political Affairs at the ECOWAS Commission, said they will submit a memo to the Mediation and Security Council to consider how to engage in sincere and constructive discussion to ensure consensus on the electoral laws in Senegal.
We are also proposing to deploy the Council of the Wise, because we feel it's a good mechanism, really, to engage with the political stakeholders to really find a solution.
Senegal's parliament has 165 members, out of which 150 are elected from within the country and 15 are elected from the diaspora. Reporting for QTV News from Abuja, Nigeria, I am Aliou Cissé.
Also in international news, leaders of the Commonwealth countries, including the Gambia, meet every 2 years for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, commonly called CHOGM, hosted by different member countries on a rotating basis. Since 1971, a total of 24 meetings have been held, with the most recent being in the UK in 2018. The latest edition is taking place from the 20th to the 25th June 2022 in Kigali, Rwanda. Here is a report on the first 2 days.
The Commonwealth Secretary-General welcomed distinguished guests and business people from across the Commonwealth to the Business Forum at CHOGM 2022.
I outlined my vision to put the wealth back into Commonwealth and to put the common back into wealth.
His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, featured in an insightful panel of experts discussing the business and trade opportunities the membership of the Commonwealth provides.
We need to keep making sure that the Commonwealth, when we talk about the Commonwealth, we actually mean the Commonwealth. No one is left behind. I think this is what we have to focus on.
The power of the Commonwealth was also reiterated by Lord Jonathan Marland.
This is the Commonwealth family. This is what is gathered for the next few days to celebrate and to create a future, and a big future, for the Commonwealth.
The Women's Forum ended with an ongoing commitment to health, action and investment in gender equality. and the youth of the Commonwealth gathered to celebrate their third and final day of meeting together.
I urge the youth here to take your place on the world stage. Be bold and courageous.
What you do, what you achieve, what you aspire to do will set the world afire.
And having linked up with the Commonwealth Secretariat, we will bring you daily news from Rwanda throughout the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit. And that's it for QTV News. Join us again at 10 for another bulletin. Thank you for watching.